All right, welcome in. The 2025 Cowboys might be sitting on another Herschel Walker trade, but they won't even listen to offers. Friends of the show telling us today Micah Parsons is worth more than 3 first-round picks. There's a rumored Packers deal already on the table. Should they do that? And what could make the Cowboys change and listen? You know, Stephen Jones told the media at the media party in Malibu during Cowboys training camp, they have to figure out something different to do. Seems like opportunity is knocking. Take it away, Jimmy.
The only thing else I got to say is, how about them Cowboys? Yeah!
All right, welcome in. I'm Gavin Dawson from 105.3 The Fan, home of the Cowboys. And with me, as always, is the all-academic SEC lineman from Kentucky, New Bear Lisnowski. How the hell you doing tonight, buddy? Happy Friday.
Does it get more fun than this? I know we're talking about how games are back, and it doesn't get better, but short of the games on the field themselves, the soap opera reality TV show that is trade season in the run-up to the season is awesome.
It is awesome. I love talking trade. We're 19 days away from Cowboys-Eagles Thursday night football. And then, to just make it a little bit more juicy, I want to reset what I told you there in the open, New Bear. We were in Oxnard, Stephen Jones at the media party saying, man, we got to figure out something different. It seems like trading players who you are struggling to get a contract done with, who you might have to overpay. If you can't win it now, trade them for future picks, and then, use those picks to give you the opportunity to get more good players on your roster than the salary cap is designed to hold. The Eagles are doing it with money. Why don't you do it with trades and draft picks? The OKC Thunder just won an NBA championship with that exact model, didn't they?
Yeah, and the really fun part of this is most of these rumors aren't just picks. You're also talking about young developmental type players or guys who might be ready to break out. I mean, there's a lot of juice and a lot of squeeze from a lot of teams.
I can't wait to get your thoughts on Lucas Van Ness and that Packers offer, but I wanted to tell you, I did ask a friend of the show, former agent turned writer at CBS Sports, Joel Corry, what would be a fair trade for Micah Parsons? And yes, former sports agent, contracts and salary cap expert. Whenever there's a holdout or a big contract coming, Joel Corry is just an amazing resource. And his answer to me, I would ask for the equivalent of more than 3 first-round picks, whether getting strictly draft compensation or a combination of players and picks as the return. The reported offer from the Packers, 2 1s, a 2, and Lucas Van Ness. So let me just start off there. I wouldn't do that deal with the Packers. I think I need at least 3 1s from a team that is set to probably pick in the back third of the draft. If they were a top third of the draft team, I think 2 1s, Lucas Van Ness, and a 2 would be more than enough right now. But I would just say the Cowboys have not done the best job at drafting after 20. Like, you look back on their last 5 and only one of them was a hit. Like, you could end up trading Micah Parsons for the equivalent of Tyler Guyton and Mozzie Smith quite easily. Like, once you get into the 20s, the Cowboys' ability to draft well dries up. I think it's too much risk. It's too much gambling on trades and not finding good football players there. Because, in a lot of ways, those are second-round picks, New Bear.
That's what we're saying. Like, 2 late 1s and a 2 is almost more like 3 2s, except for a point you bring up all the time. I mean, this is when you get into the caveman stuff, a big part of that is that this is a team that wants to draft and develop. And first-round pick, even at the end of the first round, as long as it's in the first round, means what? You control the 5th year. You would potentially be in the same exact situation 3 years from now with a Lucas Van Ness as you are right now with Micah. And that's good news for everyone involved, because that would mean that the kid popped off.
It comes down to how good you think Lucas Van Ness is right now. Like, if you think, hey, this guy's going to be a bona fide starter, he's going to help our run fits, he's going to set the edge, he's going to do all of the little things that maybe a Micah Parsons doesn't, and at least give us a high floor at that position with some upside, with some star upside. I don't know. I think of Lucas Van Ness maybe more in the Anthony Spencer mold, to put out a Cowboys comparison from years past, a guy that maybe in a big year could get you 8 to 10 sacks. But it's a big dip. I think the the bigger opportunity is with the draft picks. And if you could guarantee me like you'd get a starter with some Pro Bowl potential out of those picks, I'd like it. But what I need from the Packers is the 3 number ones. So in one of these years, like Jordan Love's not the most durable quarterback, I need a path, right? And picking like, out of one of the next 2 years, look at what Green Bay has put together. I think Micah Parsons might make them the best team in the NFC.
It's funny because if you watch tape right now of practice and you look at what Lucas Van Ness looks like today, he's dominating day in and day out, and he looks so much better than he did last year. When, let's not forget, any of the PFF numbers, any of the grades, or the lack of production that you want to throw in there, you're talking about a guy who wasn't really a starter in college. So you're coming out of college in that system. You're the 13th overall pick. You're learning a new system as a rookie. You struggle. You learn a new system under a new defensive coordinator in year 2. That's 3 defensive. We talk about quarterbacks all the time with having to learn offenses. It's the same way for these guys, even on the defensive line. And then you add to that the fact that he was playing with a club. The guy was playing one-handed.
Okay, I like it.
Defensive, offensive lineman, you're talking about hand fighting, hand placement, and all that stuff, dictating everything from play to play. He was playing with one arm tied behind his back.
Okay, so give me upside. Spell it out. What are you calling here on Van Ness?
How about 6'5", 275, 4'5", 8"? I mean, he's bigger than Micah. He's almost as fast as Micah. And what do you bitch, moan, and complain about all the time? He doesn't play the run, meaning Micah Parsons. If you're talking about setting the edge and you're talking about culture from the inside out after the summer of good vibes and now we're kicking each other's ass every day in camp, and you're talking about Easy and Fowler and all this other depth that we love and Sam Williams and all these other guys on the edge and what those guys can do, are we just not going to assume that playing better on first and second down wouldn't free those dudes up to be better when you're going to hunt QBs?
Okay, since you said all I like to do is bitch, moan, and complain, since you went there, I do have to press you. I want you to tell me. I mean, you gave me good combine numbers. That's cool. Like if I was looking for an underwear model, sounds like Lucas Van Ness, might be a decent candidate. But this game of sports is played with spatial awareness and reaction times and, how you interpret data coming from your eyes and telling your feet and hands to do things. So how good's he going to be at using that body to make football plays?
Yeah, so to your point, he's got 7 career sacks in 2 full seasons, and Micah Parsons might go get 7 in 2 games. Hell, he might have a Derek Thomas night where, he turns it on and he ties a sack record any given game, right? That's what Micah Parsons' ceiling is. What I'm talking about, you bitch, moaning, and complaining about is that that's what he does, and he's willing to risk everything to go hunt the quarterback. Yeah. I'm talking about Lucas Van Ness right now with 2 hands, looking like he's on. People are accusing him of being juiced up. He's incredible Hulk level stuff coming out of practice, coming out of camp, coming out of Green Bay right now. And what I did looking into the picks, right? And when you're talking about guys at the top of the draft, and you're talking about everybody assumes these guys are going to be plug and play, Pro Bowl, if not Hall of Fame type guys, and you're going Hutch, you're going Myles Garrett, the Bosas, what have you. There's this other group of still first-round guys, and I'm going to throw some names at you. Trevon Walker, Zaven Collins, my guy, Josh Hines-Allen, Rashawn Gary, his Van Ness's running mate in Green Bay, Bradley Chubb, anyone? How about Leonard Floyd and Dante Fowler? Those are guys with similar draft profiles who did not break out until their 3rd year.
I mean, if he can become, really good, but I think right now I would imagine Green Bay is going to become really good if that's all they have to give up. I like that name Rashawn Gary you threw out. Like, can I get 2 1s, Rashawn Gary and Josh Jacobs?
Right, but remember, Gary got paid. So Lucas Van Ness is basically free money because you got 3 more years of team control, 2 on the rookie pay scale, and then the 5th-year option becomes a balloon payment, but still, right, Rashawn Gary's already way, way, way up there in terms of what it would do from a salary cap perspective. You move on from Micah Parsons, get younger, get 80%. I mean, let's say, I mean, he's not going to be a 20 sack guy, but your point about 8 to 10 sacks is more than reasonable for a guy of his size, speed profile. And oh, by the way, I cannot emphasize this enough. He was playing with a club last year and another defensive coordinator, another system. under the weight of the expectations. And let's just be honest, right? There's a lot to be wanting, but there's also a lot to like. And if you're betting on potential, all I'm saying is that, okay, go to Pittsburgh and talk about Highsmith versus Nate Herbig. Go down the list of any of these teams where you're talking about potentially getting a player who can step into the rotation back. I like Lucas Van Ness better than any of those guys because he's younger and cheaper and bigger and just as fast.
It's quite an endorsement there from New Bear. Again, I think the exciting thing here is, could this be the intersection where the Cowboys decide we got to do something new? We can't keep up with the Eagles' big-time spending. We can't keep up with the Rams and F them picks or whatever the NFC team du jour is that decides we're close. Let's trade future picks for players. I mean, the opportunity is there. And at 3-1s for Micah Parsons, now you're giving yourself so much ammo and pushing it so far into the future that, I mean, the Packers could fall on their face. You could have, I mean, Christian Watson is hurt. Jordan Love gets hurt. Rashawn Gary, is a veteran with medical history. There's plenty of ways that the Packers could be very disappointing, and you could be sitting on a treasure trove of picks. So for the Cowboys to not even consider it, I think it's weird, and I think it bears asking why the hell not. And I think it just comes down to them wanting every game to be exciting for fans. They don't want to take a half step back this year. That's 17 games where the Cowboys fans can't see Micah Parsons making exciting plays. I think they believe exciting plays makes a lot of fans believe we're close, and that's how the NFL is structured, with the parity and everything. But I would also say this about the fan base, New Bear. There are a lot of fans like me and you who are constantly paying attention to what's going down on Cowboys Twitter, Cowboys YouTube, and sports radio. Right. We're very tuned in to team building dynamics and how far away the Cowboys truly are from competing for a Super Bowl right now. But I think a huge portion of Cowboys Nation, they don't pay much attention to football for 6 months out of the year. They do their jobs. They go to church on Sunday morning. They come home. They put a brisket on the smoker or pull a brisket off the smoker. They probably put it on Saturday night. And then they watch the game with their friends and they yell at the TV and they drink Miller Lights. And they don't engage any other way. And Jerry can make money on these people, giving them Dak, CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, and Micah Parsons, maybe Trayvon Diggs, Deron Bland, take one back to the house. And that's exciting enough. That's close enough to maybe win you 9 to 11 games or, 12 games, 3 in a row, as Mike McCarthy did.
And even the losses are spectacular because they're fireworks and it's scoreboard watching and all those things where it's going to be exciting, right? Win, lose, or draw. Yeah. And what I'm really looking at with this is relative to, if it's just picks, then you're punting on 2025. That's the narrative. Mm-hmm. But if it's a haul of picks and a young, potentially rising breakout primed guy like Van Ness, Herbig, etc. I mean, there's a handful of guys, and not even just 1-to-1, because the edge position with the Cowboys is deep, and they've got veterans and they've got rookies. They've got a nice combination of size, skill, speed, length, all the traits we like, and those exist even without Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons takes that to the next level. What they don't have is that clear guy up front. Say what you want about Anthony Spencer, what he was or what he wasn't. Say what you want about any guy who isn't highlight reel level every time out. What happens when you're not even getting into these situations where you're not getting a chance to hunt because they're just running it down your throat? And Micah Parsons is mitigated in games against the Eagles because they never even get to 3rd and long. Those games change if you get a guy who can come in and maybe not be as dynamic in the passing game. He affects it anyway.
Man, you're strong on Lucas Van Ness. I think that's 3 pitches you've given me now. A quick elevator pitch, an insult, and then 3 solid pitches in the last 5 minutes. New Bear, you're big on Lucas Van Ness. Let me ask you about this, though, because how could Jerry sell it back? I think Josh Jacobs might be it. We don't have a tailback. Jerry can sell exciting running back, even though Josh Jacobs is getting up there. I didn't realize he's been in the league already for 6 years, but last year was 4.5 with flipping 15 touchdowns and 1,300 yards.
Yeah, Josh Jacobs is a stud. Josh Jacobs is the man. I mean, I believe he's a guy who slept in his car at one point on his rise into competing into the Alabama backfield and not getting his chance. And then when he did, all he's done is go for a grand and be a bell cow back. and he's a 3-down guy, and he'll put his face in the fan and protect your quarterback as well. He will be a friend to Dak everywhere. And then he allows a guy like Jaden Blue to learn from him and slot into his learning curve in a way where the expectations are lowered so much that he just gets to be the splash guy, right? And we're not talking about, is Javonte Williams' knee okay? And did Miles Sanders just pull his hamstring while we were having this conversation? And then maybe Phil Maffa, you can hide him on the practice squad, right? If you're talking about Josh Jacobs, that's a completely different deal, because now you're talking about superstar for superstar and picks. And if you can't sell that, get out of the business.
Yeah, and I think Green Bay could be keen to moving on from a 27-year-old running back if you're getting Micah Parsons back and you believe in the depth. You're a little bit different, but they've done a really nice job adding Matthew Golden, adding Mecole Hardman. Christian Watson's going to get healthy. Like, they have explosive weapons in the pass game to create favorable looks, and they have a really good offensive line. Like, it might be a top 5 offensive line this year. They spent a bunch of money on a guard. They lost their center, but they got Jenkins stepping in, he plays the flipping piano up and down that line, man, and he'll step in there and maybe give you Pro Bowl play at center. So I think maybe that is how it could be sellable. And to Cowboys fans, you think, all right, we're going to play more ball control. Now the physical running game that Shoddy's been selling is actually legitimate. Warren Sharp did a study this week that he published. Cowboys were actually top 8 in the NFL last year in short yardage runs. Which shows you they got something. And then obviously the run play success rate stat that we've talked about significantly throughout the offseason with Rico Dowdle. You could say that the ingredients are there to make a recipe of a successful run game out of that. And now you're taking pressure off Dak. Now you're getting the defense off the field. And, just football wise, I can dig what you're saying. Like, this team plays too much pass defense and not enough run defense. So if you could balance it back and you couldn't just have a physical running game that would almost guarantee you victory against the Cowboys, if you could stiffen that up, I'd be willing to give up some of that top side. With the pass rush, especially with Fowler and Easy and, Sam Williams and Osa. I mean, Osa's a top 5 guy at pressure rate from the inside. So you'll still have plenty of pass rush. It might be average instead of top 3, but you would still have enough and you'd have a more balanced defense.
The Josh Jacobs conversation is fascinating because he's a guy coming out of Alabama, 3-year rotation guy on some truly, outstanding Alabama teams. And we all know how deep they go in the running back room. But I mean, he's a guy who he had 250 carries, and I don't think he had 300 touches in his 3-year career. Now, I believe he's a guy who was like a touchdown every 10 touches kind of thing. And was just like the productivity and the impact of those touches was through the ceiling. The challenge for him is he's only entering his age 26 season, but he's been a 393 touch guy in 2022 alone. He's a guy who's had, 250 carries basically every year and a couple well over 300. And you're also talking about him being in the passing game, running routes, and really just being an every down guy. So you wonder if the pushback from Cowboys Nation there would be, is this just old Zeke all over again? But Jacobs is a guy who's already beaten down those kind of accusations where the tread on the tire from college that accumulated really fast as he stepped in to the Sunday game is something that I think in Green Bay last year, when you talk about, hey, is this a guy at age 25 or coming off the age 25 season, people were kind of laughing at Green Bay thinking he could do it again. And all he did was go out and give you 300, carries and another 40 targets in the passing game. So, I mean,
he crushed.
He's really tough.
Zeke was just hell bent on partying his way out of the league from his rookie year. I mean, by the time he got to his second year, that half shirt was gone, the 6-pack was gone, and it was very much like Luka Doncic. Next angle, of course, you have the theory that they just want to keep this hot till week 1. That's why they wouldn't consider taking 3-1s for Micah Parsons. But let me add this, a little meat to that bone. The NFL Network just sold to ESPN. If you're the Cowboys and that deal is getting negotiated, how important are impressions? How important is the guarantee that we're going to continue to serve up this meal extra hot, no matter? And then Jerry Jones saying last week at the red carpet, if things get boring, I will be sure to provide it. So this is further evidence as that sale is going through that I will deliver. I'm maybe even willing to sacrifice a better team building opportunity just to make sure that the NFL and the Cowboys Cowboys media cycle is burning hot.
Can I cheat on this one? Can I cheat?
Sure.
I know we got multiple topics, but I think they collide right here. Whatever the deal is, whatever the TV money is, whatever impressions on whatever platform or channel you want to talk about, how about as many as 750 days of when do they get Arch Manning?
Okay. That is an interesting angle, and let's get to that before we move on to the next branch on the topic tree, because aren't the picks an opportunity? Like, I could say, hey, you're picking in the 20s. Who wants those picks, right? You're not good at it. You've only hit 1 out of your last 5. But what if those picks represent an opportunity to trade up? Would the Cowboys be interested in that?
I mean, let's not forget that there are teams. Talk about the top 5-6 quarterbacks. Those guys are all going to be locked in for at least the next 5 years. So if you're Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Herbert, etc., Lamar Jackson, go down the list of whoever your top 6 or 8 guys are. Even like throw Brock Purdy in there now that he's getting paid, and what the Niners are going to have to do. Are you telling me that if one of those guys gets hurt and one of those teams falls flat on their face, they're not going to want to take a couple of 20s picks to let you move up to wherever they fall to? Like there's going to be all kinds of ways that this stuff changes over the course of the next 730 days.
It's fascinating because I believe they've been looking for a Dak succession plan. They're hoping that Dak plays out the contract and it's great and he takes them on a magic carpet ride. But you brought in Trey Lance and Joe Milton for a reason. He's injury prone. You're already. So you could look at it as the Cowboys as, hey, if Dak gets hurt again, or if Dak has a terrible year and we want to look at our options to move on sooner rather than later, we want to be looking at this upcoming draft with Nussmeier, Lagway, Sellers, and then you want to be looking at the following year for Arch Manning and probably Raiola, or is Raiola going to be 26? I'm not sure, but the next 2 drafts, there are big time opportunities. This is how Howie Roseman would look at solving his quarterback situation.
Yeah, and
I need extra ones.
Sorry to step on you. Let's not forget that if Raiola and Lagway are 3 and done, they're 2027 guys. But let's say Arch Manning does what his uncles did and stays in school forever, and he doesn't come out till that same class. Like when you sit here and you look at the machinations of all this stuff, what's in between Joe Milton as the bridge and finding out if he is a guy that you hit on. And then if you do, you're sitting there with all these picks with your laser armed rocket leg quarterback to be able to go build a team around his skill set. And then at the same time, there's no reason you can't draft one of the quarterbacks who falls in that class and let him sit like Mahomes did behind Alex Smith.
It's just so much better if you're really serious about winning, to take resources from some years, whether that's good players, cap space, draft picks, stash it into the future. And then if you have 3 1s, by the time you're done drafting that, you have 6 1s on your board, making a third of what they should be making if they were starters on veterans deals. And that's how you get to 12 to 15 players in order to have a significant advantage once you get to the playoffs. 12 to 15 good players. The Cowboys have like 9 right now, and 2 of them are massively hurt.
It's also how you pay George Pickens. There's so many other ramifications to this with the money. It's not even funny. It's actually pretty damn pragmatic. And for the record, just before anyone were to kill me in the comments, we're not necessarily Dak stans. We both believe that he's good enough to win a Super Bowl if you build the team around him. We both believe he's been widely and wildly disrespected by PFF at all, who've done the quarterback preseason rankings, and belongs much closer to the top of the 7 to 17 than where he's been in some cases outside of it, down in the late teens or early 20s. But let's just say that old man beats back father time for a couple of years, and he's the guy showing the way. Let's not forget, Phillip Rivers sat for a couple years while they were figuring out Drew Brees in San Diego. There are plenty of ways where there's shape to both the draft classes, your roster, who gets paid, and all of these things coming together that you could easily argue are bigger than any one thing you do with any one player.
All right, that's great stuff, New Bear. I totally agree. We got more angles on this conversation, including a conversation Micah Parsons had with Jordan Love earlier in the offseason. Who else could get interested in this? I do want to bring it back to the Packers here in just a second. And New Bear, I hate to beat this drum. If you're tired of it, just let me know, and I won't mention it for a while. But I think it's worth repeating. the fact they won't even consider 3-1s for Micah Parsons right now is more evidence to me the Cowboys aren't running this as a competitive football program as much as they're running it as a TV show and a business that they're looking for return on investment on, and they have not actually been that serious about winning since Jimmy left. The other end. You want something on that?
Oh yeah, sorry, I thought you were just moving straight on. You know what? I mean, Jerry admitted it on the red carpet, and
he did.
When you do that and you put it out there, I actually think you should bring it up more so that we don't forget and just let it go away. Because if there was anything strategic about that at all, it was just to say, yeah, so what? Let's keep it moving and see what happens. And
I think the why Jerry said that was he wants everybody to know he wasn't a football idiot. He was a business genius. That's why he spelled it out and stopped selling the team and just told us the truth for one night. He was looking out for his legacy there, I believe, New Bear.
Yeah, and that's one of the most fascinating parts of this on the end of whatever this final chapter is going to be. That, I mean, 30 years of futility, there's been a lot of comments, and we see you in the threads, and we try to respond to every single person who's kind enough to listen, to sub, to like, to comment, and go back and forth with us. And there's a lot of comment that are talking about how, if you haven't won it all, it's been 30 years of failure. But there's also a good bit of noise to the tune of, they've gotten into the playoffs, they've dominated the East. Look at Dak's record, team versus team, QB versus QB, and how you can't just say if you don't win the Super Bowl, the season's a failure. And I went back and forth a little bit about how, well, I'm just saying that if you're an expansion team that goes on a run and announces itself to the world, you can't say that what the Carolina Panthers, Jacksonville Jaguars did when they came out of the gates was anything other than a success, even though they didn't win championships. The same way you can't say that a team that was once great that goes to the play, like look at the Washington Commanders last season alone. You can't. That was a team that's one of the most prideful, storied. Not just the nickname, the Hogs, and all the great things, but you can't tell the story, the history of the league. Whether you're talking about position by position, whether you're talking about African American quarterback, every element of any conversation that you want to have, they've been at the forefront of it, and they weren't good for a long time. They were laughing stock level, and now all of a sudden they're one of the hottest teams in the league. You can't say anything other than going to the NFC Championship game with a rookie quarterback was anything other than a success. You got the break speed off you by the Super Bowl champs. So as you go through this from year to year, if you're in football purgatory and your ceiling is 11 and your floor is 9 looking at week 18 as a play-in game, and you never really fall apart and rebuild and start over and nuke it and give yourself a chance to actually go chase that ring however you want to build it, then what are we doing? There's no other thing that you can say than that they're engagement farming.
Yes, engagement farming is there. I think you made a great point. Like 2016, Dak's rookie year, that was success. Early in Romo's career, when it was like, holy crap, this kid can play. We're in the playoffs. Even though how it ended against Seattle, it was still like you could get excited about what was to come based on what had happened. I think once you have a veteran quarterback, it is kind of Super Bowl or bust, I think, for most teams. And I think he also said something in there that really defined why not trading Micah for picks is a foolish idea. They crushed the draft in the 2010s. And from 2021 to 2023, they had a window open where they won 12 games, but they couldn't get past the divisional round. So, I don't know how you could look at that and say this team building strategy that we're using is even close to working. We had the best run we've ever had drafting players, and we couldn't even get out of the divisional round. We won 2 playoff games, against a crappy Detroit team, and then Tom Brady's last game. So what are we really? It's something has to change, and I think Stephen Jones knows that. He told the assembled media, we wear this every day. Everywhere I go, people are talking about the 30 years. It's not fun for them. I think they're just drunk from all the money that they've made, and they're a little bit too stuck in their ways to imagine something different, which is why, they should get a new GM. That's why owners fire their GM, so you can get a new set of eyes and a fresh start on stuff. Okay, speaking of fresh start, next topic here on How About Wow. This is actually Micah's podcast back. This must have been radio. This must have been Radio Row. Here's Micah actually talking with Jordan Love, and Jordan's going to try to sell him on coming to the Packers. This was months ago. And the thing I find fascinating here is, New Bear, Jordan's kind of playing coy here, like maybe they talked about a little bit off air, and maybe even back then it was known that if this Micah Parsons contract drags out, the Packers are going to be in on him. Here we go.
Is there anybody particular around the league that you feel like should come into the organization, can make an impact for y'all? Somebody you want to shout out that you?
I mean, there's a dude sitting right next to me, man. You know what I mean? That'd be pretty cool. That'd be pretty cool. No, you don't think so? How you feel about that? What would your take be on coming to Green Bay? There's too many Cowboy fans in the audience. There's too many Cowboy fans. My fault.
All right, listen.
My fault.
I'm in one of them Drewski 360 deals. You feel me? I'm a for lifer.
I like that.
I can't go nowhere.
I like
Man,
that.
Jerry Jones, we done talk. You know, that's my dog.
That seemed like a setup to me. That seemed damn near scripted, New Bear. Nice job. That might just be engagement farming from Micah, but that was his stance back in February. He also said, I don't need 40. Like, there's not that big of a difference between 30 and 40. And obviously, a couple of weeks ago, he said, I don't want to be a Cowboy anymore. But that was just a little bit too cheeky for me to gloss over. I think they might have been talking about this potential a while back.
It's really a shame that the Packers don't have a bunch of cornerbacks that you could just go say, give me your cornerback room and a couple of picks, and we'll give you Micah Parsons, and we'll just fix all the problems at the same time, right? Like, if Josh Jacobs, Lucas Van Ness are going down the depth chart, I'm trying to find one corner that would make me just ship his ass to the frozen tundra.
Yeah, it comes down to what else is possible there. But I think maybe that was the beginning. It's fascinating how many things are talked about and the media hears, months later. But I think that, I should have mentioned this earlier. Broadus confirmed on the show yesterday, the Packers are down. The Packers want him. This rumor that they're offering isn't much of a rumor. They want Micah Parsons. They are willing to give up at least 2 ones plus, and they have no problem giving him $40 million a year. It just comes down to, like, here, I guess, next branch, what other teams could get involved. But, like, the Packers do want Micah Parsons, and, I don't think it's that realistic. It's probably not going to happen unless Micah demands out. Right now, he's requested. It's got to move to a demand.
Well, right now they're looking at Van Ness opposite Gary, and you're looking at Van Ness, who was under 10%. Like, I think he was like 6.2% pass rush win rate. Like, the numbers, you can make them work against the kid really hard too. Now all of a sudden you put Parsons on the other side of Gary, and it is Super Bowl or bust in Green Bay with all that young, explosive talent. They're going to score. Can they stop anyone else? And when you go down the list of teams and you think about why teams would be in, and you look at, a Detroit, and you go, okay, you want to put someone opposite Aiden Hutchinson. Also, you lost him for the whole year last year, and it derailed your whole season. Now, a whole bunch of other guys got hurt, but their biggest problem was hunting quarterbacks, and that's what Micah Parsons is arguably as good as anyone at. I think his pass rush win rate is the highest in the league going back to 2020, 2021 at least. And it makes sense for them. I think as you go through the different teams, if you want to, pick any of them and go through one by one, you're talking about combinations of picks that teams don't have, or players that the Cowboys might want back. And, most of all of them can make the money work.
I think the first thing to say about this is no way in HE double hockey sticks do you trade him for the Eagles unless maybe they offer 4 ones. I would trade him to Philly for 4 ones.
I mean, in a heartbeat. You don't even need a player back at that point.
I mean, they might win another Super Bowl though.
Yeah, but
windmill dunking on you throughout the entire process. The speeches on Broad Street or whatever they do there, it would just be all about the Cowboys and you idiots for giving us Micah Parsons. Thank you. It would be horrific to deal with. I might need 4 ones and 2 twos, New Bear.
Let's not forget AJ Brown gets hurt every year. Devonta Smith gets hurt every year. Jalen Hurts gets hurt every year. Lane Johnson is already hurt. Now, shout out Lane Johnson. That dude was walking one day after meniscus surgery. He's a legend. But they lost a lot. They also drafted well again. They got guys coming back from injury. A lot's going to change. It's not a slam dunk that they're repeat back to back.
Okay, so I would love to deal them to the Patriots. These are the favorites. The DraftKings odds posted about 10 days ago. If it's not with the Cowboys, Eagles are actually a favorite at a plus 1,000. Co-favorites with the Patriots. That's a no-brainer. They might not win 8 games even with Micah Parsons on the team. I know they're a popular pick to be better. I love the Chargers as well. They just lost Rashawn Slater. And, I think just moving him out of the conference would be huge. They're at plus 1,500. I'm assuming these teams have their draft capital, New Bear, or they probably wouldn't be ranked that high. The Cardinals at 1,600. A house of horrors Arizona has been for the Cowboys historically, but I'd have no problem trading him there. The Niners would hurt, but I would do that. The Rams would be fun, because the Rams like to go for it and then tear it down and be horrible. And I would love some of those horrible Rams picks if they wanted to give me 3 1s. I'd do that in a heartbeat. And, of course, the Panthers. Yes, please. Panthers and Bears are at 2,200. Seahawks at 2,500. I would love to do a deal with Seattle right now with Sam Darnold up there. You kidding me? That would be and then the Jets. I might take just 2 1s from the Jets if they want to rock.
So this is where it gets really interesting, because there's been a ton of heat around Breece Hall to Dallas to solve the running back room problem.
Let's go.
You go to New England, give me Christian Gonzalez. What I'm saying is, like, are you willing to take less picks if you get more player? You take Lucas Van Ness and 2 1s and a 2, and Lucas Van Ness is that's the rumor. It's not 3 1s, and they're trying to get him there. But if you're not willing to go 2 1s and a 2 and Lucas Van Ness, would you do lesser picks for Breece Hall or Christian Gonzalez?
Running back is different, especially if I got to pay him. I think that's fairly neutral. People don't want to pay their running backs. If they're dumping their running back on you, I don't care how many yards per attempt he had last year. If he's 27 or up, we're on thin ice already. I might only get 1 good year out of him. So Christian Gonzalez is an elite corner still, though. Yes, for him.
Wait a minute. You're mistaking Breece Hall for Josh Jacobs. Breece Hall turns 24. Breece Hall turns
24?
Yeah. Breece Hall got hurt as a rookie in 2022. He was a 21-year-old rookie, 22, 20. Yeah, he's 24 years old.
I might do a 1 and a 2 from the Jets.
For Breece Hall. Like, let's go.
Yeah, 1-2 Breece Hall.
Call it a day.
Yeah. But I am kind of like running back doesn't matter guy. I think if you have a scheme and a good offensive line, your running back's probably going to get you 4.2, and maybe the best one makes a couple of more house calls and pushes his average up over 4.5 or something like that. But now I got to give the guy $20 million, which is the problem I've had with Micah Parsons.
I'm going to go out there and say this. If we're willing to give Javonte Williams, and I love the kid, but if we're willing to give him anything close to the benefit of the doubt, 2 years removed from major knee surgery, Breece Hall was averaging 5.8 a carry as a rookie when he went down on that. Like, there was a moment in time where Breece Hall wasn't just running away with Offensive Rookie of the Year. We were talking about him as a potential all-time great, and that was only 2 years ago. And
I love him, dude. I've been championing Breece Hall in the G-Bag Nation. Watching him play, it's different from anybody else. He flows through a defense like water coming down a mountain river. It's just too fast and too shifty and too fluid, and I love it.
You know who he is, and if you think about what happened with him going from Indianapolis to St. Louis, I've said this every time I've seen him play, whether it's in person or on tape. He's Marshall Faulk. That's how good Breece Hall can be.
Wow. How about Wow brought to you by our friends at Bet Online. You still have a couple of weeks to get your account. If you happen to be a place that won't let you access some, popular American sports books like Texas, Bet Online is it's like an oasis in the desert for you. They have the fastest payouts guaranteed, A+ rating review, unmatched game integrity. Putting a link in the description, up to $250 in bonus bets if you sign up here with the How About Wow link. But you're going to love Bet Online because not only do you get all the sports action, but you also get live betting during the game. You got casino games, you got horses, you got poker, you got esports you can bet on. You want to do poker tournaments, they got it all there for you at Bet Online. Anything else you want to say before we sail off into the weekend, New Bear?
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you. We are about 20 days from Cowboys Eagles now, 19 days from Cowboys Eagles. Back tomorrow with more Cowboys headlines and analysis. You can get all of our stuff online at howboutwow.com. And until next time, how about wow, Cowboys?